Hi, and welcome back to Abilene People, our podcast here on BigCountryHomepage.com, where we talk to Abilene's most interesting people. We have one of those today. I guarantee you this. McMurry University Student Body President Garrison Shin. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good.
Now, Garrison, are you Russian, are you Korean, or are you American?
So I'm all three. I make the joke that I'm Korean adjacent. My adopted father.
Wait, you're Korean adjacent?
So I was adopted from Russia when I was 2 years old. I'm a Russian American. I'm proud to say that. But my father is Korean. My mom is born and raised in Texas. So I say adjacent because I have that last name Shin, but I don't. People can't tell, and so that's one of those things where
So we should say you're Texan. You're from Round Rock.
I'm born Russian, proud Texan.
There you go. I like it. Okay. So I want to talk about something that you have said, and we'll get to all of this in the conversation, but you are a Rhodes Scholar finalist. You recently learned that you didn't make that incredibly elite group. So we're going to focus on that really elite group that you are a part of, which is a finalist. There's like 230 something of those out of thousands who enter the process. And now we'll talk about kind of where you're going from here. But what I want to get to first off is your disability, and then how you have always said, I'm going to define that as I don't know, I'm putting words in your mouth. I don't know how you've said it, but as an ability, you have a certain ability, you have said, to show that people that, you can do anything. So tell us about it.
Well, first off, thank you for allowing me to come onto your podcast.
Hey, man, let me tell you, are you kidding? It's not every day I get to talk to a Rhodes Scholar finalist. So you're going to graduate summa cum laude. I graduated, thank the good Lordy. So I'm just happy to be here with you. So go ahead. Tell us about how you have overcome.
So I always say I have a disability, but I also have this ability to show other people that it's not a big, major problem in my life.
A disability, but you have this ability.
Yep.
I like it.
So, I do everything everyone else can. I have challenges, but, most people think it's daily challenges that, every single day I have a lot of things that I can't do. But for me, I think one of my major challenges is going into a room and having some people already think of what I can and cannot do. And so that's one of my major challenges, going around Abilene, my family owns a daycare, going in there almost feels like the press corps is, what happened to your hands? What happened to your hands? It's one of those things where I've learned at a young age that, it's okay. Curiosity is great. And especially with younger kids,
You mean the children ask
Yes,
what happened to your hands?
And I think that's, for me, I think it's really one of those things where I go up to them, especially if it's a public place. I say, my name is Garrison Shin. I'm a college student. I can read, write. I can do everything everyone else can. I can drive a car, tie my shoes. And I think that that's what makes it like, oh, you can do everything I can do. There's no difference except what you look like. And I think that that's the thing I try to portray.
So I read this. You said, growing up, I knew I was different. I tried to be normal and do everything everybody else could do. To say I overcame my disability would be a lie. I cannot overcome something I'm stuck with forever. However, I have adapted to my world around me. And then you tell a story about the band in high school. Tell us that story. It's a great story.
So I was graduated from Round Rock High School. I was in the Dragon Band. I was in band in middle school as well. But there was a lot of challenges with going out to sixth position. And,
what's sixth position?
So the trombone is it's about this long. It's the one with the slide. And then it has a horn. And so sixth position, I cannot reach out. And so there would be a lot of things I could not play. And so I worked with my band directors, my parents, and we found it was called a quadribone jazz bone in Victoria, Texas. And we went down there and picked it up. It was metal. It was just like a regular trombone, but it was double piped. So when you were in what it would be like third position, that would be sixth position. And so I had a lot lesser of a slide than everyone else. And so that was a little bit different, but I was able to do everything else everyone else was playing.
That's really pretty incredible that you wanted to play the trombone so badly, you were willing to go down to Victoria and get this special instrument. I'm just curious, when you went down there, did you know that particular trombone was going to work out for you, or was it a risk?
So actually, there was a plastic trombone similar to that, and it just didn't sound the same. But it was something where we could see, oh, it works. It doesn't obviously brass
Okay.
and plastic, so we were able to test it out before.
And so when you got this trombone, you were able to play it. Did you march in
Mhm.
the band?
I
Like,
did, and you know what? To be honest, everyone said that it was a lot better because you're not hitting people with your slide because it's a lot shorter. So I think a lot of people wanted to play that trombone than
you
others.
started a movement. Yeah. So, okay, when you learned how to do the normal things that people with all of our digits do every day, from driving to, well, obviously you learned to tie your shoes before you learned to drive, but those kind of things, for you, just normal as apple pie, and you just said, I'm flying through this? Or were there any of them that you thought, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to do this?
Well, a lot of the times, especially with tying my shoe, I think it was I think it was in like middle school. I mean, I'm gonna say my secrets out loud, but I think it was one of those things where I can't go to my teacher and ask them to tie my shoe anymore. I mean, it was obviously kind of embarrassing for me. I am in middle school. I was like, man, I asked my friends, and so it takes me a little bit longer still. I have to sit there for maybe 2 or 3 minutes, but it was one of those things where I have to do it.
Okay, Garrison, when in middle school, were you already kind of the smartest kid in the room? And did you know at that time that you were the smartest kid in the room?
So I'm hard headed and I am very determined in anything I have a passion with. I dive deep, and with the technological era we are in, everything is, I grew up with technology. And so it first started off with the royal family. I believed in some crazy in my mind that at 8 years old, I was going to marry into the royal family and I needed to learn all the lineage of it. And then it kind of went into US presidents, and then it went into Texas politics, and it's kind of all gone from there. But when I'm curious about something, I go dive deeper into it. So I don't know if that was really smartest person in math class, but I think I was definitely one of those where I had a passion. I go into it, and until it leads on to something else. And I think all my passions have kind of tied into everything history.
So at what point did you realize, you know what, all this passion I have for information and knowledge, I'm amassing quite a bit, and my buddies are just, playing Nintendo.
Well,
And by the way, I'm assuming you played Nintendo as well.
I did, yeah. And I think for me, it was kind of like, I think I started probably in like 2016. I started liking politics, but it was, oh, don't watch that. You're still too young. And, it was kind of like, oh, there's too many name calling still at that time. But for me, it was like, oh, I can't do this. Oh, I'm going to do it more now. I'm going to look up and watch videos and, learn about. I think it's all from curiosity of, oh, if what's happening now, is there something that with the past? So I went all the way. I think that started with the royal family, which just going back and then coming back and then going back. I think that for me, it's just more of that's my pastime. Some people, they'll play video games. I go into rabbit holes.
So were you truly motivated to become a Rhodes Scholar because you would go study at Oxford? Or would that just mean your odds of bumping into a royal and marrying into the royal family would grow exponentially?
I think I didn't even tie those two together before. My mother said something like, "Oh, you should talk about you liking the royal family with them," and I was like, "Oh, that I didn't put two and two together until right before I went for the interview." But no, I think it's been one of those things where my professor at McMurry, Dr. Paul Fabrizio, we started talking about this, I think, a year ago. I think in December of 2024, and it was like, hey, just look into it, talk to your family. Uh, he was very optimistic, but he was a realist. He said you might not even get it. You might not even make it to the finalists. You might not get it. But it was. But I think everyone has a 1 to 2% chance of getting it in any of his classes, and you have 5 times that chance. So now I have a 10% chance, right? So obviously, I was able to defy those odds and make it to the finalist. But that's been something that, for me, it's been eye-opening to see all the support, all of the things I can achieve. And I mean, even being a finalist, it's kind of proven that, oh, I can do hard things. And I think a lot of people say, oh, well, do you think you're going to get it because of your disability? And I said, I hope I don't get it because of my disability. I hope I get it from the things I've learned from my disability.
Nice. You have also done a couple of political internships, and your major is poli sci, and you see that as your future. Do you see that as your future? I want to come back to the internships in a minute, but this question occurs to me. Do you see that as your future as a poli sci, guy in academia, or do you see it as no, I'm going to run for office?
Well, I always make the joke that I don't want to be a career politician because I want to have job security. I don't want to have to run for an election every single time. And so for me, I think academia would be what I'm shooting for. I've always wanted to be a teacher. My mom was a teacher for 20 years. She worked with kids with autism in the Round Rock School District. And for me, that was just something that I think that's why I started getting into, in high school, looking into politics because I saw how teachers are underrepresented and underappreciated. And so, and especially during COVID, it was like, man, these teachers are not working just the, 8 to 4, they're working before and way after and spending their own money. They don't have the resources. And so that was when I thought, well, how can I help? And so I saw the state legislature, all of them. And at that time, my representative was James Tallarico. That was one of those things where, and so that's when I think 2018 was when I really got into politics and started looking. And that's when I started going to school board meetings with my mom and, seeing that local politics and, where the sausage gets made because, a lot of the times you see the big news headlines, but you don't see where it started.
So, Garrison, you decided at some point you were going to intern with somebody from Round Rock who's on the Democrat side of the aisle, but then here you interned with Stan Lambert here in District 71, who's on the Republican side of the aisle. And local politics, it seems to me, is an easier dance, one side to the other. And there's collaboration and people work together, whereas national politics is much more polarized. What are your thoughts about all that?
I think national politics, I personally, I don't know if I would ever want to go into national politics because I feel like a lot of the times it's political theater.
Yeah, it's like performance art.
It's performance. And it's really sad to see that when there's no camera inside the committee rooms, they're all so cordial with each other. And then when there is, it's, national televised, they're being rude to each other. They're calling each other names on both sides. And it's hard because, you don't see them as any other person besides, oh, well, the extreme on this side or the extreme. And that's really hard because when I interned for Terry Cook down in Williamson County, which is just north of Austin, and she's cordial with everyone on that.
And she's a Democrat.
She's a Democrat, and the other 3 commissioners and then the judge are Republicans, but they're all able to work together. And I think that was such a great thing to see because, there's a little bit of political differences, but I mean, they're talking about roads, they're talking about mental health, they're talking about a lot of things that it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or Democrat, you need to use. I mean, when you're talking about taxes, they're not taxing Republicans or Democrats, they're taxing everyone in the county. And so all that stuff that they're talking about is beneficial for everyone.
So, Garrison, when you came up here and you met Stan Lambert, I'm assuming that's how it happened. Hey, I'd like to intern with that guy. How was that internship?
It was wonderful. So I was a district intern. And then at the opening of the legislature, I went to the first day of opening session in January. And I mean, that was a great experience. I worked hand in hand with Robin Wertheim, who was just recently on the podcast.
Yeah, she was just here.
And she's been a wonderful person to work with. She was my person I talked to during the my internship.
Well, you couldn't have picked a better one.
Exactly. Well, and then the state representative, Stan Lambert, he's just wonderful. I think Stan Lambert and Terry Cook have a lot in common more than they're different. And I think that's why I think, I was trying to get another internship with the state rep, and that didn't work out exactly. So what I did was I did the old-fashioned way for the summer, right before May ended. I took my resume to the commissioner's office. I I didn't know her that well. I've seen her a couple times before, but I gave it to her secretary, and they said, "Oh, well, let's meet on Friday, and we'll talk about what." And we talked about aggregate mining and stuff like that. I'd never heard of before, but I was a sponge, and I soaked up all that just like I did with State Representative Lambert. There's a lot of things where, you know, I didn't know all the intricacies of being a state representative, nor did I for a county commissioner. I mean, I thought all this was political, and what did the Democrats think, or what does the Republicans think? It was what's better for our neighbors.
So, in that conversation with the county commissioner down there in Williamson County, in the middle of it, did you say, "Well, let me tell you all about the royal family"? Did you say, "There's some things I really know"?
No,
I don't want to talk about aggregate mining.
that was the thing is, for my resume, I was very, very concerned that they were going to say no to me because it was a Democrat office, and they saw that I interned with State Representative Lambert, and and for a while, I think they don't want to say it, but I think for the good week or two before, after I started my internship, they probably thought I was a Republican plant, but for me, it was, I just enjoyed the experience, and Commissioner Cook said, "I can't pay you," and I said, "I don't need to be paid. I'm ready to come in unpaid. This is volunteering." That's what I did with Lambert, and that's what I wanted to do with Cook. I wanted to do something over the summer. I didn't want to just be a bump on a log, like my dad says, and do nothing, because I think that both experiences have been wonderful, have helped me grow, and I think specifically, it was something that you can't buy. It's you can't learn in a classroom all the stuff that they've taught me.
I want to go back. You mentioned your dad. I want to go back to Russia for a second. You were 2 years old when your family adopted you, but you didn't speak Russian.
No.
And at what point do you recall being self-aware and thinking, okay, things have changed for me? Do you have memories of the orphanage in Russia? Do you have, are the memories you have mostly stories you've heard, or what do you think about all of that experience?
It's been stories I've heard. At 2 years old, I don't remember much, but I do remember how they've said I was really happy. I've always been, on the plane, going back home, and then coming to see my room. It was just happiness, and I think that that's where it's like I didn't really have that much of language, but I showed my emotions anyway, and I think that was where I don't have much memories of the orphanage, but I do know that there was a lot of, I was doing the Rhodes personal statement, I had to do a lot of, it was like a research assignment, but on myself. And so I found this document that said I was given up at 11 days after I was born. So, and it was because my biological parents said that they refused to take care of me because of my disability. And so, some people have anger towards, they would have anger towards that. But for me, I mean, that's the best decision that they could have made for me. I mean, I don't know what I would be doing in Russia right now, especially because of my disability. You can't cure this disability. And for me, I think that I just recently hit my 20th gotcha day, which is when I came home. This was October 25th. And, looking back, what I've done in the last 20 years has been, I mean, really, really wonderful. And all the support I've gotten after the Rhodes finalists, and then also after I was told I did not get the Rhodes scholarship, it's been people from all walks of my life, even all the way from my adoption agent, that, she's kept family ties with us, and to, Cub Scout and Boy Scout leaders, and, the commissioner and the state representative, to professors. I mean, I had university support from the very beginning. And so for the last 20 years, I basically compiled a support group, and they all came out at the very end here after, the Rhodes journey for me. And I think that that's been really eye-opening for me.
There's so many things I want to make sure we talk about. Make sure in this awkward, here it's the podcast, and I should have my thoughts better prepared. But make sure we talk about you being an Eagle Scout.
Yeah.
But what was the trajectory like for you learning English in your earliest memories of going to school in Round Rock? Were those difficult times, or were you still that happy kid and gonna just go right through it and didn't even was there any pause for self pity or anything like that at all?
So my mom told me this story, and it's really interesting. So I was in because of my needs, learning. I had a learning disability as well. I think it was that language barrier of not having been taught. There was a lot of in the orphanage. I feel like it was more, taken care of, but not taking care of the intellectual needs of me. And so,
Well, plus, man, you missed 2 years in terms of English.
Yeah.
I mean, you heard pure Russian for 2 years and probably not intensely, as you say, pastoral kind of care for you as a kid in the orphanage. I don't know. I'm not trying to judge them. I'm just guessing based on what you're telling me. But you missed those developmental years listening to English early on. So how long did that take?
Well, so I was in speech classes when I was, I remember, I think in kindergarten or first grade, I was in speech classes. I took the second grade again. That was something that my parents decided on because I think that I was progressing, but not enough. And they believed that holding me back 1 year, I was able to achieve more in second grade. And so I was, I had an IEP. I was a 504 kid. And my mom told me, when I was little, I said, "Am I going to die special education?" And this was really young. And she was like, "No, it's not something you can die of." But, for a little kid, I'm just like, "Oh man, I'm different." And obviously my hands, and then I'm like, "Oh my gosh, my learning is different too." This is bad. But, my mom, she taught kids with autism, and she understands that people just learn at different rates.
Do you ponder how life would have been different? We've already touched on, you're glad you didn't stay in the orphanage and stay in Russia and the opportunities you've had. You're appreciative. But I wonder what life would have been like had you not been adopted by a family with the worldview your family has and a mom who taught special needs kids. I'm sure you've thought through that.
So I believe I was given a second chance. And my second chance, because you don't get to choose where you're born. And so for me, that second chance was fate. I mean, it was perfect. And then my grandmother adopted my uncle, who was born without any arms or legs. My brother, so I'm the youngest of four. And so my oldest brother, he adopted two children from Russia as well after me. And they were born with missing limbs as well for their arms. And so I've had a built-in support group. And, some people on the outside look at our family and say, "Man, that's an interesting looking family." But we all came in different ways. But, I think that's what makes my family great because, my dad was born in Korea. My mother lived here in Texas all her life. For me, I was in Russia. My uncle was in Dallas. But we all live in Round Rock, and we're all family, and we all, we're supportive of each other. And then also having my parents took me to a camp. It's sponsored by Scottish Rite Hospital. It's called Hand Camp, and that starts when you're very young. I think HD1 it's called Hands Down, and it's a camp for children that have missing limbs, and they all come together from all across the country. And so you get to see, for me, I got to see that there's people in my family that look like me, but then there's also children around the country that looks like me. I think that was very important. And for my mom and dad to get me and my niece and nephew to go to those kinds of camps, I think that was one of the best things. And I think that they were always thinking.
And you got involved in Scouts.
Mm-hmm.
You did the Cub Scouts. You did the Boy Scouts. And at some point you said, "You know what, I'm going for Eagle." And you became an Eagle Scout. That's got to be something you're pretty proud of. Looks awfully good on your resume.
And I'm gonna tell another secret. I probably a year or two before I became an Eagle Scout, I wanted to quit. I was This was right during around COVID times. I was not really wanting to do it. I was like, yeah, you know, I don't know why I would want to finish this. I'm an outdoorsy person, but not, not too outdoorsy. And so for me, it was like, yeah, I went on some higher venture camps, but my dad said, give it one more year and then you can make the decision. I gave it one more year and I became an Eagle Scout. But so I think that that was really important because, my parents have always taught me don't quit when things get hard, but also, if you're going to start something, finish it. And so, I'm happy that my dad didn't let me take out the easy road and say, oh, I don't want to do this anymore.
Sounds like your parents have always been pretty consistent and always given you pretty good advice. And I'm assuming that continues today.
Mhm.
What are they telling you? I'm sure that they were disappointed that you didn't become a Rhodes Scholar, but they're also incredibly proud that you were a finalist. But it's more than that. That they're obviously proud of your character and the man you've become. What are they telling you about your future? What are they whispering in your ear? Or are they just saying to Garrison, whatever you want to do, do?
Well, so I think my mom was a little relieved. I think that
Oh, you mean because
I did not get, yeah,
you that means you're not going to go over to Oxford
yeah,
for grad school.
yeah. And I think it is because I have passions in Texas. I love Texas. I said I was a born Russian proud Texan. And going to Rice or University of Houston or wherever I end up, I think somewhere in Texas, I can really strive and thrive because I'm a Texas boy. I mean, you know, I think for me, I think things happen for a reason, whether we know it for the actual reasons or not. And I think it is the best thing that could have happened to me. I think the experience, being a finalist, being able to show and prove that I can do hard things and I can be on the same level as some people from Ivy League schools. I think that that was important, but maybe going to Oxford was not in my path. I wanted it. I was a little disappointed, but my mom said, Garrison, you have all this other stuff going for you. And for me, you know, none of my parents put any undue pressure on me.
So Garrison, I don't know that I know this part of the story at all. I don't think I've read it or heard you talk about it. How did you get from Round Rock to McMurry?
So, like I said, I'm the youngest of four. So my oldest brother, he graduated high school in 2000. So my parents have been parenting for about 43 years now. And they try to get my oldest brother to go, then my other brother, my sister, and then me. They said, okay, let's not push it. Both my parents went to McMurry. My dad,
Oh,
and
okay. So
so
it's a legacy thing.
yeah, and so my dad, he was working at Dyess Air Force Base on the simulators, and my mom came with one of her best friends from the Dallas area, and they tried to get all of my siblings to go. My oldest brother went to Charlton. My brother went to Texas A&M, and my sister went to Arkansas. My parents got to see the pros and cons for all of those schools, and I think that McMurry was one of the best places I could have gone. It's 3.5 hours from Austin, so it's not too far, but not too close. But it's a big enough school. But I mean, my high school was 4,000 students. McMurray has 1,400. And so for me, I'm able to get that tight knit community, and I'm able to rise to my occasion inside of McMurray and do the things I want to do and have those opportunities. But I also had that support of you know, friends, administration, because it is so small. You're not able, I was talking to a couple of the other finalists at Rhodes last weekend, and a couple of them were saying how they had a big committee that they had to go talk to get Harvard to endorse them. And, that is one of the requirements. You have to get the university to endorse you. I was able to go to Dr. Murray and say, hey, back in February, hey, I need to get an endorsement. I know you just came onto campus, but here's my resume. Can we talk about this more? I mean, that's the experience that I think that was really important for me because it wasn't so. You're able to use those personal connections and personal relationships. And I think that that's what's great at McMurry, and what's great for my career as a college.
It's kind of cool too that you've been in McMurray under two uh, really good presidential leadership teams. What do you think about Dr. Murray?
I think Dr. Murray is wonderful. She makes you feel like you're the only person in the room.
He's got a real gift at that.
Yeah.
She really does. She's also been on the podcast, and I remember when she left thinking, wow, she made me feel like I was, somebody she's known for years and wanted to share with and talk with. And she's incredibly busy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a real gift. And I think you have that gift. I think that you have a way about you, the way you carry yourself and all. Do you feel like your high school experience set you up for that, or have you kind of more come into your own at McMurray?
I think I come to my own at McMurray. I wasn't a big outgoing person in high school. Probably didn't have that big of a friend group. But, I mean, I think at McMurray, I was able to be a new person. You could design how you want people to perceive you as. And so,
Yeah, it's a new start.
It's a new start. Yeah, it's a new chapter in your life. So, and everyone comes from all over the state, all over the world. And so I think that that's what we all in that shared. And going back, I think McMurray, because it's so small, everyone knows each other. At my high school, I have 4,000 students. You know the people that you're a part of, and it's a little scary to go out of that clique. So, obviously I had friends in band, but I feel like I have more connection here. And maybe it's because we live with each other, either in the dorms or the apartments, or you're in classes every day, or you see them in the cafeteria. But for me, I think the growth over the last 4 years has been really great, and being able to show that, what I put my mind to, I can achieve, because, I know when I was a freshman, I thought I want to be in student government, and I want to be student body president one day. And I'm student body president now, and I think, as long as I have no regrets with anything, going back to the roads, I have no regrets. Going, in my McMurray career, I have no regrets. And obviously, I don't think I have any regrets in my life right now at all. Going back all the last 20 years, you can do things differently. You learn from your mistakes, but I always say it's new mistakes that I make. If I make the same mistake over and over again, well, there's a problem. But it's always new mistakes in my life.
So you mentioned Rice University. You mentioned, if I heard you right, Houston. Maybe there's another university you threw in there. Your plan is to go get a master's degree and continue your academic studies. Any time off? Have you thought about law school as well, or what all thoughts do you have about your future?
I have some family members that are lawyers. I talk to them. I think for me, I don't know if that's my passion is law. So I'm not looking into law school right now. But for the University of Houston and then Rice University, specifically, I've had webinars I've joined, and then also I've been able to join a Zoom call with the political science department, and they talk about how you don't even need to get your master's. It's a 5-year program, and the first 2 years is your introductory classes, similar to what you would do in your master's. The next 2 years after that would be research analyst and teacher assistant, and the last year would be your candidacy for PhD. So if I went to Rice, I would be able to get my PhD, and when I apply, I would go through the next 5 years, and so I don't plan on taking a break. I plan on going there starting the fall of 26, and continue that, and see where that takes me.
I'm curious when the application process starts, or has it already started?
It has already started. I started it back in August, the application for that, and I was doing it in tandem with the application for roads. I started that in July, but I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. So I'm looking at different schools, and with as well as the Rhodes Scholarship. So I think that Rice would be the best place for me because they have such a small cohort, and I think I work better with smaller groups of people. because I'm able to get that one-on-one with my professors and especially with students. I mean, I'm sure if you asked Dr. Fabrizio when he was on last week, I'm probably in his office, 3 hours a week. And some of it's about schoolwork, some of it is about Texas politics, what's going on in our lives. And, he's even said after this, we would meet after this because he truly cares. And I think that that's what's been great for McMurry and just my experience is all my professors and all the people in my life right now truly care. And that's been really great to see.
So as we kind of land the conversation and point toward conclusion, I want to revisit this idea of your experience with the county commissioner, a Democrat, the state representative, a Republican, and how people got along. And yet you mentioned, I don't think I want to get into national politics. I, I, I would imagine that you've thought through your study and your pursuit in political science relative to the future of our country, the cultural shifts and divides, why we seem to be at perpetual war with one another. Um, Recently, one of the guests on the podcast says something to the effect of our enemy doesn't have to worry about tearing us apart. We're doing it ourselves. I'm just wondering, um, not in a not baiting you to say something idealistic. I don't think that's really your vibe anyway. I just want to know what you think about all of that. And are you a glass is half full or glass is half empty kind of guy about the future of our country?
I think glass half full. I try to look at I'm an optimist. I believe that, I try to look at the good things. And, we can look at the bad things. But so right before my Rhodes finalist interview, a week before, I got sick. And everyone's telling me, oh my gosh, this is the worst time you could have gotten sick. In my head, I'm thinking, this is the best time. I know I won't get sick next week. So, I'm looking at it in the best possible way that I can because that's all you can. Whatever happens, it happens. It's water under the bridge. You can't change it. But how do we look at it in a better light? For me, not getting the Rhodes scholarship, I'm looking at it like a political election. I even said after I got out of the interview, well, it's like I was running for governor and that was my last campaign stop and the voters will decide. The voters did not decide to pick me. And, you can harp on, oh man, what could I have changed? But I don't think I could have changed anything. I think I left everything on the table and I'm proud of what happened. And so, I'm looking at it as maybe not I can do better, but I've done a lot in the past. Let me just continue that.
I'm just curious, when you went in for the interview for the Rhodes Scholarship, were the people pretty stuffy or were they kind of normal people?
That's the thing. I had predetermined assumptions on a lot of the experience. I thought, okay, it's going to be very, rigid. It's going to be very formal. I mean, all the students, all the select committee, nice as can be. I mean, it was like I was at an event at McMurry. I mean, it was just everyone was trying to make everyone comfortable. We were able to discuss at, high levels of, politics or our interests, but, it wasn't like I didn't have imposter syndrome going in there. And, I was the only university of Texas, that's in Texas that made it to the finalists. There were people from Ivy League schools, people from Oklahoma University.
Wait, what? From Oklahoma University? Are you
Yes,
kidding me?
yes.
Wow.
But that was a big eye opener for me because it's like, wow, I'm able to compete with these people, but these people look at me like they're competing with me as well. And I mean, and to see that as we're competing, what we're at the end of the day, most of us feel the same way. I mean, there's 16 of us that were finalists in the state of Texas and Oklahoma, and 14 of us went home feeling the same way. But none of us felt ashamed or upset. I think it was more of a, we are great that we were able to have this experience and have these connections with people. And I think that for me, I felt really bad afterwards because I thought, man, I had all these, ideas about
Oh,
people.
I see. You felt bad because you had kind of prejudged them
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
negative light.
yeah. And so judging, I mean, it can be at all scales of things, but, we all have our biases. And I'm thinking, when I first saw that list of people I was going against, I was like, oh my gosh, I, but you have to look at it in that way of thinking, being optimistic. Wow, they picked me to be a finalist with this group of students that are, I would say, very intellectual. They are very smart individuals, and I don't think I was looking at myself like that either. I mean, I think I was looking at myself like, man, how did I make it here? But I should have looked at it as, wow, I made it to this point, and I think I had that realization afterwards. And I think that I'm happy I had that realization, but I wish I had it before.
Well, that's probably one more of your, what did you say earlier? Make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make the same mistake.
Yep.
Won't make that mistake again. You stand as a peer with a lot of really fabulous people, and I think the sky's the limit for Garrison Shin. Appreciate you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Always love to have interesting people on the podcast. Boy, we had a home run today. And I want to say that I'm sorry I missed our last Mensa meeting. I know you count on me being there. I won't miss it again. I've never been to a Mensa meeting.
Really?
Yeah. This whole intellectual Rhodes Scholar thing. I was talking to somebody. I said, "You gonna have a Rhodes Scholar finalist on the podcast?" It's so funny because I'm thinking, oh man, this guy's gonna be so Mensa, so smart, so. You're a very normal guy. I like it. You've got a great vibe about you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you. And, if things fail down at Rice, you've always got a future with the trombone, So
No.
don't forget that. Don't forget that. You didn't bring your trombone to McMurry and play in any band or anything? Okay. All right. Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you, sir, for joining us here on Abilene People, the podcast on BigCountryHomepage.com. I want to give a shout out to our ace producer, Travis Corrigan, who is taking care of business over there on the switcherboard. I'm your host, Danny Sims. Thank you, and we will see you next time. I don't know that we'll have another Rhodes Scholar finalist on the podcast, but I guarantee you it'll be somebody interesting. Thank you, and we will see you next time.